Greetings, guys. Today we're going to talk about literary theory. Actually, I'm really happy to start with the M.H. Abrams, who's really famous with Mike Abrams. Now, of course, he is American critic. And we're going to start today talking about his book, which is The Mirror and the Lamp, Orientation of a Critical Theory. Now, Abrams speaks about the two ways actually in which literature or literary theory try to interpret the human mind. Now, first of all, he started like the mind as a mirror that reflects the external object in front of it. And the second, it's like a lamp that throws light at the object it sees. Now, Abram actually defines them as two common metaphors of the mind. The first one is the reflector, and the second one is the radiant. Now, we're having four approaches. The first one is the mimetic approach, and the second one is the classical approach, and we have a pragmatic approach and objective one. Let's start by the mimetic approach. Now, actually, the mimetic approach, it deals with the mimesis and oriented towards the universe and us in the work of art, of course. Now, it focuses on the relationship between text and the universe. It's a classical approach, which is Plato and Aristotle are so famous with. Actually, they are in line with this theory. They both define literature as the art of imitation. Let's start with Plato's Republic. Now, Plato's Republic shows that the world of being has three categories. We have the ideal world, we have the physical world, and then we have the work of art. So the physical world is an imitation of the ideal world, and art is the imitation of the physical world. Now, this art is a trace removed from reality. Now, for Socrates, actually, he described it as three beds. First, the idea of bed, and second, the physical bed made by a carpenter who imitates the idea of bed. And third is it's a bed which is painted by. So all works are judged on the basis of the relationship to the idea, since ideas are considered true and beautiful. So the distance of art from ideas emphasizes its distance from beauty and truth. Let's take this example about Aristotle. He defines a tragedy as imitation of an action. So tragedy is the genre that best describes mimetic approach. Now, for Aristotle, actually, he defines the form of a tragedy, plot, and character. Now, his orientation moves slightly towards the work itself. And also poetic art, especially tragedy, based on its effect on the audience. Thus, Aristotle's criticism is flexible and cannot easily classified under one orientation. But mimetic approach remains the most prominent in his theory. Moreover, he does not pay any attention to the role of the poet's feelings or even emotions in creating the work of art. So the second approach now, we're going to talk about the pragmatic approach. Now, it focuses on the relationship between the text and the audience, writing for a purpose. Now, it views art as a mean to achieve an end. Now, this is the purpose of poetry, to teach and to delight. Okay, so for Horace, for example, in Ars Poetica, he defines poetry to teach, to please, and also to move. Now, we have also another example, which is a preface to Shakespeare, which is very well-known example, is also related to this approach. It's like a didactic function of literature. And also, guys, epic is the best genre that best describes this approach. Now, to instruct by pleasing, keep the Roman audience on their seats and induce cheers, and in so doing, instruct them, and this is very well-known quote by Horace, to make the world a better place. And the third approach, guys, is the expressive approach. Actually, it focuses on the relationship between the text and the author. It starts in the year 1800 after Wordsworth published his lyrical ballads, which is a romantic movement. Now, it emphasizes on the power of poet's mind. It's like a work of art, and it's an external manifestation of internal thoughts and feelings. It shifts from mirror to lamp here. So can you please just focus on the difference? Fine. And the poet is the major element. This approach also deals with the sincerity and authenticity of poetry. Lyrics is the best genre that best describes this approach. It tackles, of course, the ideas of a poet, made or born. Okay, and now we have, of course, the fourth approach, which is the objective approach. It focuses on the analysis of the text in isolation of all external objects. Now, the work of art has its own hetericism, which means a word of its own. It is independent and whose end is to exist. Poe, of course, states that poem is written for the poem's sake. And of course, a poem should not mean but be. Art for art's sake and beauty is the value. It appears in the early of the 19th century. So at the end, guys, Abrams returns to the Romanticism and expressive theory because in them the mind of the poet is not seen as matter but as a lamp which sheds light on its creation. So poetics means literature because it's the writer in verse, not in prose. And thank you.